Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Today we're going to be continuing talking about the changes in 2023 and some of these kind of things are coming back from 2022. And the topic that we want to talk about is COVID-19 vaccination leave. And we get a lot of questions, so it's kind of a reminder that the pandemic is not over yet. And I know a lot of the times clients have been asking me about what should we be doing this vaccination leaves? What should we do about COVID? What am I required to say? And I always tell them, please consult an employment attorney. And Irene and Stephen, who is her partner at Sinayskaya University, they're both really, really amazing resources. And I always tell everybody that they should reach out to them. And most of the time, I really don't have the answer. So a lot of times I kind of know very similar situation as the clients. Like, for example, the past summer, New York extended the law requiring employers to provide their employees up to 4 hours of paid leave to get the vaccine, including boosters. And then the law is not going to be repealed until December 2023. But a lot of times we still have people who are sick with COVID and our clients are asking us, well, how much are we supposed to be paying or what are we supposed to be doing? And I actually would like to ask Irene because I don't really know what to say with this, and I feel like I'm not the right person to give guidance. And I think you have a lot of answers that could help me and a lot of our listeners as well.
Thank you so much, Jane. Yeah, so this does come up a lot. And as Jane said, this has been now how many years? And it's still a question. And we've seen a lot of changes and progressions over the years, especially, of course, in 2020. There were a lot of updates that year. And so if you received an update at that time or you spoke to your attorney at that time, how much leave you're supposed to give, that may have changed once, twice, or more since that advice was given. And so New York does not have a plan yet to go away with COVID leave for COVID sick time. And so there's a few points that I want to make. Of course, it all is very specific and individual to the company. In a few minutes, you'll see exactly why. But I also wanted to make mention of the fact that COVID time is separate from sick time, which is required in New York as well, and in a lot of other states as well. Sick time is a requirement. I don't want to say how many hours are required because it also depends on the size of the company. For a certain size company, it's going to be 40 hours. Above a certain number of employees, it's going to be 56 hours. And then some industries also have their own requirements as well, in addition to that also. So just something to remember and know for the future. Now back to the COVID time. It is separate from sick time. You cannot say that the 5 days, for example, let's say, as this example that someone used of sick time is already counts towards their COVID pay. But currently, what we're seeing is that small employers, which would be defined as any employer that is making less than $1 million net in net income. And I do want to be really careful here because a lot of the times it's during the active year, and sometimes the companies don't know how much they'll make until the year is over or close to being over. And so we've seen that come up as an issue as well. But in these situations, there's unpaid leave for the employee, but it's job protected. And of course, for anything that I'm going to talk about, everything is going to be job protected leave. Then you get into the second category, and that's where you have 1 to 10 employees, and the net income is going to be over $1 million. And there we're going to go into a chart that breaks down how many times you're actually asking for the leave for the exact same employee. So if it's the first request for leave, it could be 5 days leave paid by the employer. You might receive an additional 9 days of unpaid leave. The reason why I keep using the words might and answering very much like a lawyer would is because I don't want anyone to have a concrete answer until they're 100% sure and confirm with their legal team. Do they qualify as a small employer, medium, large employer? Did the first request, second request qualify as actual COVID leave? Maybe that first request, they did have COVID, but they only asked to use their sick days. Will it qualify as actual COVID leave or not? these are very individualized questions, which is why I feel much more comfortable at least giving a general scope of what numbers we're at least looking at, but also just a reminder that it's so individualized to a specific company and the specific employee as well. So then, for example, with the same size company where we're between 1 and 10 employees, over $1 million, if we look into second and third leave, for example, we're looking into options again of additional 5 days that could be provided and paid for by the employer, up to 9 days unpaid on top of that, job protected. You are then eligible for any paid family leave as well. The rules change there, and that's something that's separate and outside. It's a separate fund. Paid family leave is something that the employee should be calling the fund to confirm. And then for this size company, it can go up to fourth and subsequent leave, which is something that we should also look into individually. Now we're going into our larger size clients. So when we have 100 or more employees, starting from the first leave, the first 14 days are required to be paid for by the employer. And of course, obviously job protected, but 14 days to be paid. That second leave is where it's going to change a little bit slightly. They're also required to be paid as well, but that's usually when I see my clients getting paid family leave involved. By the fourth leave in this category, no longer eligible for paid leave by the employer. And that's the fourth time in the same year by the same employee. So because there's so many dates and numbers, we do really stick to this chart, and we really make sure that we see where on the chart somebody actually lands. First, we take a look at what size company this is going to be. And if we find that the prior year, someone was really very much on the cusp of the number of employees or how much net income they're going to make, we really want to make sure that we are going to be safe and make sure they're in the right category, not necessarily push them specifically into the right category and increase numbers. But if it's really very borderline, we want to make sure they're giving the right amount of leave so this doesn't come back down the line and cause an issue. And again, a few very important things that I'll just repeat because they're super, super important that, of course, it's job protected leave. And of course, that you cannot force an employee to first use their sick time before using COVID paid leave in any of the categories that an employer or employee may fall into together. So this is very important, and this keeps updating all the time. And we see that likely, based also on what Jane was saying, that we don't imagine this is going to be repealed until December 31st for the COVID vaccine time. I imagine this is here to stay at least until then as well. And if it does update throughout with the numbers, please make sure that you're talking to an attorney and that you're confirming just how much leave you have to give to all of the employees as well. If you have any questions at all on any of this, Jane and I are always here to help. Please feel free to reach out. Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
Irene. This was great. Thank you. Bye, everyone.